What if the Dark Knight himself, Batman, replaced Darkwing in it? Would he have stood a chance against Omni-Man? Could he have changed the fate of the Guardians of the Globe? Or would he even Gotham's greatest hero fall before the might of the Viltrumite warrior? Let's dive deep into the ultimate crossover scenario and explore how Batman's tactical genius, combat prowess, and sheer willpower might have rewritten the course of the Invincible universe. In Invincible, Darkwing is essentially the universe's Batman, a highly trained vigilante with no superpowers, relying on his intellect, gadgets, and combat skills. But let's be honest, Darkwing was just a pale imitation of the real deal. Although that hoverboard is a nice touch, what if we swapped him out for Batman, the Caped Crusader himself? A man who has fought gods, battled beings stronger than Omni-Man, and survived threats that could even end the universe. Batman's experience against foes like Superman and Darkseid give him a level of preparedness that Darkwing could only dream of. One of the biggest questions is, could Batman have survived Omni-Man's betrayal? Let's be real, Darkwing stood no chance. He was overwhelmed and brutally killed in seconds. But Batman is a different breed. He's outmaneuvered some of the most dangerous beings in the DC universe with his unparalleled combat strategy, contingency plans, and a mind that's outplayed even gods. He wouldn't go down that easily. Batman has fought beings on Superman's levels and lived to tell the tale. He knows how to exploit an enemy's psychology, and Omni-Man's arrogance might just give Batman the opening he needs. We also gotta remember that Batman's greatest strength isn't his fists, it's his mind. Unlike Darkwing, Bruce Wayne has spent years preparing for fights against godlike beings. He's studied Kryptonians, Amazons, and even new gods, understanding their biology and weaknesses. He would have likely sensed something was off with Omni-Man's origin story, similar to Cecil, and he wouldn't ignore it. He'd dig deeper. He'd study Nolan Grayson, analyze his weaknesses, and potentially arm himself with Viltrumite-resistant weapons. Imagine Batman developing specialized gadgets to exploit Viltrumite vulnerabilities, sonic disruptors, pressure point strikes, and enhanced nanotech suits designed to withstand Viltrumite level strength. But even with all his planning, this fight would push him to his limits. Let's say Batman actually survived the massacre by evading Omni-Man's initial attack. What then? He wouldn't just lick his wounds, he'd go underground, regroup, and start working on a counterattack. Imagine him secretly working with Cecil, gathering intelligence, and even manipulating events to turn the world against Omni-Man before things spiraled out of control. Batman wouldn't wait for Omni-Man's next move, he'd strike first. And Batman wouldn't just rely on physical strength. He'd use his resources to create a network of operatives and gather intel from satellites, spies, and even Invincible himself. Batman is a master of alliances. Well, at least when he's in the mood to work with others. He'd find a way to push Invincible harder, to make him stronger, and to strategize a way to stop Omni-Man without relying on brute force alone. He'd know Omni-Man's weaknesses, and he'd weaponize them. If Batman could rally the Justice League against Superman, he could definitely bring the heroes of Invincible together to stand against Omni-Man. And with Batman guiding Mark, the next generation of heroes would be more disciplined, strategic, and prepared than ever before. Batman would train Invincible like he trained Robin, teaching him the value of discipline, mental fortitude, and how to fight smarter, not harder. The harsh truth, even with his genius-level intellect, Batman is still human. If it came down to a direct fight, Omni-Man would pulverize him. But Batman isn't one to play fair. He'd set traps, use Gotham-style guerrilla warfare, and exploit any weaknesses he could find. He'd create contingency plans upon contingency plans, knowing that a single mistake could mean instant death. Batman would likely use psychological warfare, targeting Omni-Man's connection to his family and his fractured loyalty to Viltrum. He'd figure out that Nolan's connection to Debbie and Mark is his greatest weakness, and he'd use that emotional vulnerability to his advantage. And it's not just about stopping Omni-Man, it's about preparing for a larger Viltrumite threat. Batman would think beyond Nolan. He'd anticipate the arrival of the Viltrumite Empire and develop strategies to fight an entire army of superpowered warriors. He'd study Viltrumite biology, understand their regeneration limits, and develop weapons tailored to bypass their physical defenses. Batman wouldn't wait for the Viltrumites to attack. He'd make sure Earth was ready before they arrived. He'd work with Cecil and the GDA to bolster planetary defenses, create enhanced armor and weapons, and even establish a specialized strike team of superpowered heroes trained to handle Viltrumite-level threats. But what about Omni-Man's inevitable emotional conflict? Batman wouldn't just try to beat Omni-Man physically, he'd beat him mentally. He'd exploit Nolan's internal struggle, his guilt over betraying his family and Earth. Batman would drive a wedge between Omni-Man and the Viltrumite Empire, planting seeds of doubt and manipulating him into becoming a weapon against his own people. Batman excels at breaking enemies down psychologically. Just ask Bane or the Joker. If anyone can manipulate Omni-Man's loyalty, it's Batman. Would it be enough? Maybe, maybe not. But if anyone could find a way to turn the tide against the Viltrumite, it's Batman. He's beaten the odds before. Could he do it again? Even if Batman couldn't beat Omni-Man alone, his strategies and preparation would ensure that Invincible and Earth's heroes had a real chance to win. Batman wouldn't just fight for survival, he'll fight for victory. If Batman replaced Darkwing and survived, the entire world of Invincible would change. Mark wouldn't be left alone to figure things out. He'd have the greatest strategist in history guiding him. Would that mean a better future for Earth? Or would Batman's methods put him at odds with Invincible and the heroes of the world? Could he prepare them for the Viltrumite War, or would his presence only delay the inevitable? So, could Batman replace Darkwing and Invincible? Absolutely. Would he survive Omni-Man's onslaught? Possibly. Would he change the world forever? Without a doubt. But what do you think? Could the Dark Knight take on Omni-Man and live to tell the tale? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more epic What If battles.